Hi, my name is Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and motivational speaker. Today we're going to watch part 3 of a Pearl Harbor veteran survival story. Bob Raines survived that horrific attack in Pearl Harbor so many years ago, and now you're going to experience part of his story. Remember any of that?
You mean during the attack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing all that.
Can you describe what it was like?
Well, it was wasn't nothing near what was portrayed in that movie they made of it. It was less than that. But our bridge was right level with the muzzles of our 5-inch 38s, and they blew away all our canvas and everything else that we had in that area. And of course, you didn't say do this or do that. You just pointed it out. You said, not much talking going on. Listening as much as you could. But we didn't lose any casualties on our division, which was lucky. All the people that were damaged or killed were mostly involved in the Marine compartment, which was directly below the superstructure. And that bomb went right through and exploded in their compartment. So there's quite a few casualties there. But, and also they had these 5-inch guns, or both used. We had some that were used for broadsides, like old-fashioned Navy. But then right above them, they had the 5-inch 25s. So there was all that noise from them. But the crews for those broadsides, they went to help on other stations because they couldn't shoot those guns.
Why was that?
Huh?
Why was that? Were they not able to fire those guns?
Well, they're too low down, and we were in dry dock, so they couldn't actually see or anything to shoot at on account of the main deck of the ship was right level with the bridge, you might say. And so actually all those 5-inch 51s are different for ammunition. They wouldn't be any good against the aircraft anyhow.
So even though the Pennsylvania was in dry dock, she had ammo on her?
Yes. Oh yes.
Was that pretty normal?
Yes, except for a big overhaul, and then they would offload it. We were really lucky. There was when the Cass and the Downs were hit, they keeled over towards each other, and then of course they flooded the dry docks. They were completely, and they became engulfed with fire. We took and had our deckhands had to fight fire from the forecastle down on the two destroyers, because they had their depth charge racks right on the stern, which is under our bow. And so we had a firefight there, probably all the time that dry dock was flooding, so we could get us out of there and get them taken care of. But the one thing I left out was we had one destroyer was also in a floating dry dock close to us, and they got hit, and it blew their bow clean off. That was the Shaw. And when the Pennsylvania was back in San Francisco in the yard, one day I happened to notice this funny looking ship standing in underneath the Golden Gate. And I took and put my telescope on it, and I had a 373 hull number. And I says, that can't be the Shaw. By gosh, it was. And what they did, they had cut all that damage off the bow that they could, and then they took and just put a flat bow on it, and had a slight angle, and then they took and contacted the States, the yard, and told them what frame number and everything else where that bow was cut off. And they had another ship that they were building, the same kind, and they just took and cut it off of one and put it right on the other and back to sea. But the thing is, the only thing you had then was radio communications. They didn't have any TV or anything like that. So it took a while to get the information passed through. That's about it.
So, what made you join the Navy? I mean, was your family in the Navy? You know, where did you originally come from? You know,
I originally came from Olympia and lived in Shelton. Stayed there. My dad was a World War II vet, and
World War I, or?
I mean one.
What was his name? What did he do?
He was. When he first started out, he was a mule tender. Well, then they found out the mules weren't any good because they're all getting dead. So they put him in transportation. He was in transportation department, and over in France, he got changed to a truck driver, and he was driving these big monstrous trucks. And he did that, and he lied about his age when he went into the service. But he was a big 6'3" and heavy. They took his word for it.
What was your dad's name?
Huh?
What was your father's name?
Carl Raines. Carl Raines. And he took and re-enlisted in the Army. But the second time, he put down 1919, the same thing he put down over in France there. Nobody noticed it or anything. But anyhow, I always thought that was kind of funny. But he, after the war was over, World War I, he came back to Fort Lewis, and he met my mom. She was a telephone operator there in Olympia, Dad went ahead and told him he wanted to get out of the Army then. It's all you had to do is say you was ready to get out. But they wanted him to stay. And they says, we'll up you to from a buck sergeant to a tech sergeant or whatever it was, staff sergeant. And they'd move him to Hawaii and attach him out there. And he thought, no, he'd go ahead and get out. But he went ahead and got out and started working in the mill because he had no trade. But we stayed there until 1926, and then moved to Shelton, where he worked in another mill. And that's about as far as his education went. And he took and got odd jobs and everything. He worked at 2 different mills, pulp mills and lumber mills. But my brother joined the Navy, and that was in 1940. And I lost all interest in school, and got so that I couldn't even retain what I was reading in the books and such as that. So I told Mom and Dad that it'd be best one less person at the table, and I'd send home money. And like, no problem. They took me to Tacoma in our Model T, and I enlisted. And 2 days later, I was down in San Diego and went through boot camp there.
So when were you born? What day and what was your birthday?
10/17/23.
So did you enlist before you were 18 then?
Yeah, 17. I had to have my folks' permission.
Was that pretty common?
Huh? Oh yeah. A lot of people got around it though, just like the way my dad got around it when he came in. When they want bodies, they'll find a way to get you in there if you resemble what you see or what they see. But no, I quit high school there in my senior year. I told my mom and dad that I didn't think I was going to take and pass that year. Didn't have enough credits. But when I got out of the service, I went ahead and finished my education and got my diploma. But that's as far as my education went.